So look, let's start with a general question about the millennials. As you both serve them, are one, what do you admire about them?
They really are seeing the world differently, and I think ultimately they're going to build a world that's actually probably a better place than what my group, the boomers, did.
I have 3 much younger siblings who are like really gung-ho millennials, and I watch them be incredibly fast learners, which I think also comes from the generation that they grew up in basically having a Google search tab open next to every single thing they've ever done. So if you think about the ability to gather information and get reps very quickly, they can see something new and are more likely to have a referenceable, oh, I've thought about that before, or I've seen that, or I know how to ask the question in a way.
I think what sets the millennials apart is that they're equipped with information in areas like consumption, where they can actually start to align their consumption with their values. And 30 years ago, that's a lot harder to do. Like if you go down the aisle of a grocery store, it's hard to know which companies are ethical, which brands have a sustainable supply chain, whether something's healthy. If you're online, you can get that information out at the click of a button, and they know exactly how to attain it. Yeah, I think that historically there's been this bifurcation between, call it brand marketing on the one hand, and direct response marketing on the other. And I think to succeed today as a brand, you need to be able to do both at the same time. They're not going to fall for the like sleazy sales pitch. They are wise to information that previous generations may not have had access to, and they're savvier consumers.
About 35% of our purchases are done by millennials. They tend to shop mobilely. I was on a panel a couple weeks ago where people are saying apps are dead. And I was like, our app is great, we're fine. So not all apps are dead, but they do tend to shop mobilely.
People they're looking at things more often, they're changing their mind more often. They actually gain, I think, a huge amount of value out of taking something that can be once very complex and making it very simple. A company like ClassPass, which was mentioned earlier, right, which is a way to book boutique fitness classes. Historically, you saw people with one gym membership, and now you see someone who subscribes to this and is going to go to 5 or 6 or 7 different places in a given, set of weeks. Right. Yeah, they have grown up with a news feed in front of them, right? That every 2 seconds it's changing, and so when something sits and you stare at it for a while, in a sense, it may start to feel stale more quickly.
They're flexible with their own behavior. They're unforgiving of any faults that you have. So they have high expectations. They're not particularly loyal to any one retailer or any one site or any one app. And if they see something that's better, they're to it. To the point made earlier, they're talking with all their friends and they're social in a way where information travels faster. So you have to just be at the top of your game, or you will lose customers.
Resale is cool now. All right, so before that, maybe it was behind the scenes, but resale's cool. Everything we do is resale. We happen to do luxury. It happens to be curated. Almost all of our merchants and our marketing team are actually really cool, hip people and if you look at the site, it really speaks to a younger demographic.
But I also think this generation, coming back to the topic of millennials, is more willing to give you information in a way where, at least as companies were building apps at the beginning, it was like, how quickly can we get someone into the product? How quickly can we get their credit card? The fewest number of clicks, that's what wins. And we've actually seen a shift to the other way of, let's ask them more questions. Let's see if they'll tell us this. And what they see is that when you get people to engage more, they tell you more. Yes, they expect more on the other side, something that's going to be better for them, but their conversion rates actually go up by creating friction at the beginning, which was something that I think was counterintuitive to many people.
My big takeaway from this panel is that I'm actually not as impressed that the millennials are that different than others anyway. Maybe I'm taking a totally different approach here, but all I'm hearing is this is a group as digitally native behaves like a natural human would who was digitally native. And if you had the capacity to know how to access that information, get authenticity, et cetera, you would do it. And this group has that capacity. It's been trained that way.